6 o'clock. I see the camera's on, recorder's on. Christina, that's on. I take it you pushed it over this way. All right, tonight we're gonna have
Recording in progress.
Recording in progress is what we're gonna have. A joint meeting between the Swanton Select Board and the village trustees. I'd like to go ahead and open the Select Board portion of the meeting. It is November 19th, 6 p.m.
Oh, I'm sorry, yeah. Open up our meeting, joint meeting for the village and town.
All right, first item here is a call to order and then Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, agenda review. I don't know if anybody has any changes. Okay, none from the village, from the town. Anybody have any changes? Yes?
On the orders, expenditures,
Oh, we'll do that during our regular
oh,
meeting.
sorry.
That's all right.
Oh, sorry.
That's all right.
Wait.
Under any other necessary business, I'd like to take just 1 minute to explain a little bit about this proposed sign, and if that's all right with everybody.
We'll also add the hometown girls.
We can
2 minutes of that.
We can add hometown arrows as well.
I think we should add the slight discussion on this for the Swanton motion that we talked about, and we do have something. Did you see this?
No, I just received it about
You
half an hour.
promote Swanton?
Yeah.
Loading Swanton.
Okay, anything else?
I just have one thing that maybe just for discussion, that would be the conditions of some of the properties in Swanton, just to start the discussion.
Okay. Public comment? Any public comment before we get going? Just real quick, this is Joel Clark speaking as a veteran and one who helps put flags up in the park. I want to put a shout out to the fire department for the efforts they made, both the Saturday that we set up the flags and the Saturday that we took them down. We put up 150 flags in basically an hour on Saturday when we put them up, and about 30 minutes taking them down, and then a little bit of time walking them up the stairs. But there are others, volunteers like Steve, who came, but the fire department and the number of people they brought just made it go very easy. So hats off to them and their whole thing that they're doing on Saturdays, making themselves visible. For volunteer fire department, they're pretty awesome. Okay, meeting topics. 3A is the local option tax. In the handout is legal opinion that we received regarding it, and what we wanted to do is get together tonight, get some discussion going of the town and the village and elected officials possibly on the local option tax. One of the things that we found out is the village has the opportunity to get a local option tax, and the town does, which if they were both done separately, my understanding is people in the village would pay 1% for the village and 1% for the town. Right now, the law doesn't allow, my understanding is the law doesn't allow us for the town to get this approved and then share with the village. We'd like to see that law change, and that's one of the reasons we've included Mr. Walker here tonight to hear this discussion, and with all the issues with taxes and the school tax and so on, just the word itself can really bring up a lot of emotion. So we want to have some discussion with the village, maybe have a public meeting to discuss it as well, a public hearing, get the vendors from around town, get the citizens from around town to come in and vote voice their thoughts as well, but tonight, we just wanted to talk with the village a little bit about it, and with that said, I'm gonna open the floor up to anybody who wants to start off.
Can I just make one statement? I'm not sure we've got a firm handle on what the projected income stream might be. I think we've heard numbers of 285,000, 300,000. Just, and I think, Brian, you might have done some research or somebody.
About a year ago.
Just so we can begin our discussion, how many dollars would we be talking about collectively if a tax like this were 2 or 1%?
Collectively, which would be town, village,
Mhm.
one tax, I believe, was it
It was about 330, I think, I can
330,
find it.
350?
Okay, that's fine,
Yeah.
I just thought.
In that magnitude.
Yeah, we just need to have a number as we're
Right.
making these
Yep.
comments.
So I think one of the thoughts that I've had over the last couple of months was when we do the grand list is 75, 25, 76, 24. Is there a way to disperse that based on grand list?
Jumping ahead a bit, under the present law, no, there isn't. By our attorney's opinion. Because the village is a separate taxing entity, the town is a separate taxing entity. If Mr. Walker and his counterparts were so kind as to fix that by the legislature, they could put a formula right in that bill on how it would be split. So, I mean, the legislature can do whatever they want.
Basically allowing it to be split
Right.
and possibly a formula on how to split it.
Right.
Yeah.
Leaving it up to the two entities could, in
Correct.
some cases, go very smooth, and in some cases could get very ugly, and,
Right.
But, yeah.
If we were to enact this the way that the law currently states, then the best move would be to do it, to use that money, the revenue, on something that is a joint effort, right? Like the rec, the library, something like that, something that we could just come to an agreement on, that it's
Right.
used to benefit all of Swanton
Yeah.
Town and Village.
Yeah, it would have to be one of the departments, rec being one of them, and
Right.
it's funded by the general fund.
General, yes.
And then the library of the town, so
Mhm.
the town, the village voters get the village taxpayers get the benefit of it as much as the town. As a matter of fact, at the conference Bill and I were at last month, one of the towns in a similar situation, the town village, the town has it, but they make sure it goes to just that, something that the town and the village do, so it's not a problem. But when I explained what we were trying to do and why there could be a problem, oh, yeah, that would be a problem, so, you know. So, yeah, I mean, if you had a capital project you wanted to dedicate it to the village, we had a capital project dedicated to the town, well, oh, there we go, you know.
Yeah.
And does there have to be a specific project or item that we must determine ahead of time in order to do this?
Yeah, you have to designate it, what it's gonna go to, and capital improvement cover the
Right.
state.
So would that fly?
Would it?
how would that be different than the way we generate taxes now? We don't specifically, I guess we do with the budget that we put out. But because we don't know the amount, I guess we just know what fund it would go in.
Right.
Well, we do fund the capital expenditure for the various
Correct.
properties, we
Right.
own, so we kind of have something like that now.
Right.
Correct, I'm just thinking in terms of designating this, if we were to implement it,
Of course, you know, not without looking at one of their town reports, but my understanding is that the town of St. Albans just recently built their new town office building, and they've new town highway garage, and that's being funded by the local option tax. Granted, they have a much larger
right, taxes.
tax base there, but that's, again, it's capital improvements.
So we'd still be able to sit under that bigger umbrella, right? To the point of like flexibility, we could say it's going towards capital improvements without saying it has to go to building this shed, right? Like it could just be under
And
the
actually,
umbrella.
when you go to spend it,
Yeah.
I would suggest, and I believe the law probably would require it, that you would put it on ballot item that you say, build whatever with the proceeds in the local option tax to pay for that.
Yeah, that's the way they warned them in St. Albans.
Yeah.
So you could focus on, maybe restoration of the bandstand, for example, if that was a capital.
Yeah.
I guess I'm just throwing ideas out.
Yeah,
so.
just ideas. I
You
mean,
know.
you could have a lot of little projects. Or
Right.
you could have one large project.
Right.
You see, you gotta really take a look at how much money is gonna start flowing in when it does start coming.
Right,
Keep in mind, your biggest part of this is your mail orders.
right.
Oh,
Yeah.
And then there's gonna be fees the first year from the state.
Well, there'll always be a fee to the state. They keep 1/3 of that.
30%.
that's right.
I just have a question.
We're gonna let this go back and forth a minute, and then we'll open it up.
Okay.
Now, the state does keep that 1/3, that's to administer the program, and what's left over goes into the pilot program for the state. That's where the money comes from to pay on state property and payment in lieu of taxes, which we're gonna have an increase in that, hopefully in the next year or so. What's being developed at Exit 20.
All right, we're doing this in Swanton, and they're taking a third, and whatever's left over comes back to Swanton and paid
Yeah.
it. No other towns. It all comes back.
No, well.
Okay, so
no,
we're- yeah.
it goes into the fund for the
Yeah,
payment in lieu
okay,
of
so
taxes.
we won't get any more we normally get.
Well,
We would get our
right now, we're not
2/3.
getting much in payment in lieu of taxes.
Right.
So we're talking 220
Yeah.
instead of 330.
Yeah.
No, my understanding is the 330 is after the state takes their money, right?
I don't remember, I'm trying to find the spreadsheet, and I can't find
Okay,
it.
so yeah.
No, what
I know what
I
you're-
was trying to get at is, would the state be paying more in a town that has a local options tax
No.
under the pilot program?
No,
No.
That would be based on the value of the
of the.
facility
of the
that they were
facility.
doing
Yeah.
the pilot on.
Yes.
Are there some specific questions that we could research, that the village, wants us to research, or something we
I
can
think
help
for
out
me,
while we're
just-
doing this?
You know, I don't know that there's a question, I mean, well, if there's a question, it's what do, I don't know, how do we administer it, you know? How does, if we're gonna get $220,000 or $330,000, whichever it may be, you know, how do we administer that money back into the community? I think
Well,
that's the question that I have.
You would, you'd have to have some sort of plan in effect, what you're gonna be spending it on going forward.
That's right, the 5-year plan.
And it, ultimately, the voters will decide, yeah, we would spend it that way, but I mean, you just can't let it keep accumulating.
Right.
You
Right.
spend it, but.
Right, you have to spend it all in 1 year?
No,
No.
I wouldn't say so, no.
Sorry, just to confirm, so to that effect, if ideas are proposed and they're declined by the voters,
Mhm.
those funds would continue to build
Mhm.
until a project was approved that then
Right.
we would move forward.
Right.
Okay.
Well, it doesn't look like we'd be able to say, okay, we need $10,000 for this, and we'll take it out of that fund. I don't know if we can actually do that.
Sounds like we'd have to go to the voters.
Go to the voters
Yeah.
if it meets the criteria, if it's like capital improvement.
I think we need to get that question
Yeah, that would be
definitively
one.
answered, because
Right.
I don't hear anything definitive about how that would work. I think it's pretty important to know that piece, especially if we're gonna have a public hearing. We need to have as much factual information as we can put out if we're gonna try to go forward with this. I would propose that a couple of us go down to either a community who already is implementing this, or go down to talk to some people at the tax department in Montpelier that manage this program, and get the facts right from them. That's just a thought that I have.
Or have them come up here so we all can take part. Have them come to a meeting.
Yeah, probably invite the public at that point in time,
Yeah.
because we'd have somebody that would have.
I have one other further question. I assume the voters would approve this, and then the town or somebody has to administer the program. Will that add another person to your staff?
I don't see it. I see it as, I see it as basically, we would get, you know, a check every so often from the state or however they transfer money. It's probably all done on computer now, but they would transfer the money, and then whatever we identify, it's like paying another bill. I don't see it causing an exceptional workload, because my understanding is all that money is collected at the state
It
level.
is collected.
That's why they get their 1/3 for administration and,
Off the top.
30%.
and a pilot 30%.
Yeah.
And then basically send the money to us, so it's, I don't, in answering your question, I don't see that as a big workload. I may be wrong, and Kathy, I don't wanna speak for you, but,
She didn't think so last year.
What's that?
It's not
From
that
our,
big.
from our point of view in the village, for the record, Bill Sheets, village manager, fairly straightforward, dedicated, interest-bearing account, and I think Brian's absolutely correct. There's 4 pre-designated options you have to identify where you intend to put these funds. Then when you want to expend those funds, you put it on the ballot and you have the voters vote on whether they choose to support that endeavor.
what are the 4?
They're broad-based, I don't have them in front of me, but I've read them and I can see them, but I can't see them. But the
Again,
most
they're-
often used one is the
Capital improvement.
capital improvements.
Okay.
You could specific be to water and sewer, I think Montgomery did that. You know, infrastructure, but capital improvements are the biggest ones. I would
The
say.
bigger question, I think, for Brian and I moving forward in terms of our positions are, do we have the ability to take our time, try to, regardless of whether we take it to a vote, try to fix the language in the legislature this year, and table whether we bring it to the voters until next year, or 2026, in other words, March of 26.
Yeah,
So,
Is that a better pace?
I think so.
It's okay with me.
I think it's I'm one, but I think it's a reasonable pace, because here we are, end of November essentially, and we got budgets, and to get the taxpayers involved and stuff. I don't know what your thoughts are, and whether it's anything we can get moved through fairly quickly. I know you're coming in here.
There's no such thing as quickly, right?
Yeah.
But, and also putting a tax on in front of the taxpayers right now is a tone deaf exercise, but pursuing the change in the language seems to be the direction that I would think that we want to go. This has been successful in a number of communities, including other ones here in Franklin County, in terms of being so specific on capital long-term improvements, as opposed to, you know, building an increase in expense on the budget on a regular, you know, annual basis. They have to keep funding on and whatnot. So that, it seems to have been very successful in a number of other towns, and it's 20, I think it's up to 20 plus. So pretty soon, you know, people aren't going to notice the shopping from one town to another. They're not going to notice the difference, certainly here in Swanton versus a neighboring community. And if there is any development in a store, a significant store down in the Tractor Supply area at some point, it sure would be nice to already have it all in place on a long-term basis, would be my perspective. I know that Senator Brock had mentioned that he had some other ideas that he would share at some point, depending on where this discussion went, but so he has a little more experience in putting things through, but we'll have all new leadership in the Government Ops Committee this year, and we'll, I certainly would think that they're generally, if at least finding out what we have to do to change the language, they're gonna wanna know that when you have to go through the charter change request. There's a process for that. The entire legislature has to approve charter changes. So we haven't, I don't think we're there yet. We don't know what the language should be, right, that we're requesting, but we should, I think we would wanna go that far.
ideas.
We wanna go that far and write a bill and in order to request the change, and it might surprise us and go through a little further, but I think that's for the long-term benefit to the community. This is a direction to go that served a lot of other communities very well. And the competitive nature of it, you're not gonna gain business in the town because you have 1% less sales tax than St. Albans Town,
I think-
or Alberg or whatnot, so.
And the other thing, I think just for transparency, state level, having one tax for the town and the village, splitting it out.
Yeah.
And, you know, maybe there are probably a few towns and villages that would disagree with that, but that's fine, that's their thing, and, but we kind of are in agreement that, hey, let's do this together.
And I think we're hoping it's not an actual charter change, right? We're hoping it's a tax law change versus a charter change, but I don't know.
I guess that's the question, right? The way I read briefly that piece, right, there's two different approaches, is that what I understood?
I don't know,
Right,
about-
yeah, I don't
they
think-
opened it up to everybody, I mean, I'm not sure if a charter changes, we don't have a charter. We would have to, under the old way, we'd have to do a charter, do a specific charter like Montgomery did just for the local option tax. They have a charter, so they can do the amendment there, but that has to go to, both of those would have to go to the legislature, but I thought when they changed the law the last time, it's just a vote of the people, just would be fine, but I could be correct. But Ledge Council, I'm sure, is very capable of letting us know.
Yeah, so what we're looking for is we want that the legislature amend the statute to allow this, meaning us, to do a split of some sort to occur on a statewide basis. It's not just us. We don't want to change our charter. We don't want them to have to enact a charter. We just want you to go to the legislature and amend the statute to allow us to have some sort of a split, a percentage.
Right, basically allow the town
Right, like a
to be able to
percentage
collect it and
based on
split
the
it,
grand list.
split it with the village.
However they come up with it, whatever they want to do.
Yeah, I know, but I'm like,
Yeah, you wanna leave it up to the
suggestion.
state? You
Yeah,
don't have a
well, that's why
recommendation?
I'm suggesting that we do it based
I would
on the
think you'd
grand
wanna see
list.
that.
There's really only two options, right? It's either 70, whatever, 5, 25, whatever that split is,
Yeah.
or they recognize that village town and they do a geofence and
Yeah.
the town is a town and the village is a village.
Yeah, we
And
might have
it's easy
to-
for them to figure that out.
You might have a third option, we just capture income from the business that's in the town, and you capture the income from the businesses in the village.
That's,
Keep it
yes,
simple.
It wouldn't, yeah, and but it wouldn't just be the businesses, it would be the mail order too, be like my house, you know, getting an Amazon package and your house getting an Amazon package. You would pay an extra 1% to the town, and I would pay an extra 1% to the village.
So I think what was being suggested is we chase the change to the law, the statute, and we kind of agree as two different organizations here to hold off doing anything else as far as taking it to the voters until probably 2026, till we get a little more informed on what we can and can't do, and can hold some public hearings and try to find a way forward that the village and the town can both benefit from, yeah.
It's a lesson learned from Enosburg Village. I don't know if anyone watched their public meeting on this. It went horribly wrong, removed from the ballot, and they just couldn't answer any of the questions, and it frustrated everybody.
Yeah, that's a similar situation, village town type, situation, and I guess it was just the village going for
Just the
it.
village, right?
You had something you wanted to share?
My question was answered.
Okay,
Sure, thank you.
very good. So from our standpoint, as the board here, are we good with that process?
Move forward.
Who's gonna draft the language?
That's gonna be-
I thought I heard Bill and Brian saying they're ready to take it
If
on.
both boards will enable Brian and I to take the lead on that
Yeah.
with our local representative senators, we can certainly do that.
Right. We can draw up an outline of what we want it to say, or what we feel it should be said. They'll take it, and they take it to Ledge Council, which is a bunch of lawyers, and they will make it into a legal deal.
Just a second. Other
Do we-
to the Senate.
Do we need to, I don't think we need to vote on this, do we? We're gonna record it in the minutes, and that's what
Okay,
we're planning to do. I mean, that's what we'll put in our minutes, and, yeah.
Work in progress.
Anything else regarding that?
Will this set precedents for any other issues that come up between the town and the village on sharing things in the future too? I mean, we're looking at just one issue right now, but I could see the voters going, well, if you're doing it for this, why don't we do it for that? And why can't we share, might want to get ahead of that a little bit, 'cause
Yeah, I think we have some pretty defined lanes that we operate in, so I don't see us being able to go too far out of those lanes, and I may be wrong, but, where we can, we wanna cooperate. As far as I'm concerned, it's one
And that's what it
Swanton,
is.
one village and one town for one
Right.
Swanton is what we are, and we do a lot better when we work together than when we don't. That's just Joel Clark's take on it.
Cooperation, collaboration, and, you know, we all succeed at that point.
That would be great.
All right, anything else on that, folks? All right. Early discussion of possible 2029 bridge rebuild and replacement. I asked Brian, I said, who wanted to talk about that? And he said, the village did.
Really?
You guys did it at the last
Really?
meeting.
Well, we started it, I thought at the last meeting, we kind of agreed, we gotta wait to, for the engineer and to come up with what they're even
Yeah,
gonna
there's
do.
nothing,
Yeah.
there's really nothing we can talk
Yeah,
about at this
nothing.
point,
Okay.
Well,
until we
But-
know.
if I may.
You may.
Yes.
You may.
It's never too early. So the predicament for the trustees is deciding when to ask the village voters to set aside money for 2029. So, best case scenario, 2.5% of the total cost will be borne by the taxpayers of the village. Worst case scenario, 10%. 2.5% of the total project cost if they just replace the decking and we're allowed to close the bridge. 5% if they just replace the decking and we keep one lane open in traffic. Then 7.5, or, well, actually, you'd have to have another lane. 10% if the damage is worse and you're talking about replacing columns. So, a lot of it rests upon any early discussion on whether or not it's an absolute no, closing the bridge, because that impacts your roads and that travel. We'll know more from the engineers, but at a minimum, our share in the village is gonna be $250,000 to $300,000, at a minimum. So we know if we ask for that all in 1 year in 2028, they're not gonna love that. They're also not gonna love about 100,000 a year, but that's what the trustees have to decide. Is it as early as this March, do we say, shall the voters of the village of Swanton set aside $100,000 in an interest-bearing account for the 2029 replacement of the bridge?
Need that local income tax, sales tax money, don't you?
So that truly is what it would have been used for, but you can't rush it.
Yeah.
So, but maybe if that happens in 2026, you don't have to have that standalone item, because you're gonna dedicate your local option tax to that infrastructure replacement.
Well, one of the concerns, is shutting the bridge down. I mean, we lived through it the last time, but it was a short shutdown.
It's quick.
If you're gonna start getting up to a month or something like that, that's gonna be,
They're gonna say 45 to 60 days, I think.
that's gonna be a total disaster.
And does that timeline change by what option
Very
going
much
forward?
so.
Okay.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. There's also another possibility that everybody keeps forgetting, is it might not need a huge rebuild at all. It could just need some updating, bearings replaced. So the bridge company that did the repair asked me to go underneath to inspect it, because they wanted to point out that they didn't think this bridge was as flat off as they thought. It's a States, and the States really hasn't looked at it closely, and that was definitely a third option they talked about, is it just might need a touch-up. So,
You don't know
it's just not all that far along, and
yet. How much longer is it gonna take to find out, what we need?
They're coming back, I would say fall's too soon. This winter, they're supposed to come back and give us an update. And of course, you'll be invited to that meeting so you can hear firsthand what the engineers' estimates are in terms of timeline. They still maintain 2029 in terms of the year, which I'm surprised, but they're maintaining that's what it's gonna be.
Yeah, they have time to design it if they get here and actually do the
Yes.
detailed inspection that they
Right.
need to do
Yeah.
and so on, but.
so one of the reasons why they finished early is because the degradation wasn't as bad as they thought it was at the expansion joints for the subdeck. So,
The project they did this summer, you're talking about, it got done quicker because it wasn't as bad as they
and the new expansion joints don't allow water to leak through anymore. So there's no longer further decay rapidly going on underneath there like there was.
I've noticed that style on I-89 now.
Everybody's doing it now,
Yeah.
yeah. And like I said, when I went underneath, there isn't really any cracking, there isn't any visible signs to the pillars, to the embankments, there's nothing looks like concrete rot at all, even to the sub-deck on the bottom side, you don't see any wheat pitch coming through. And the big thing that's probably protecting the center lane of it is the huge sidewalks on both sides. So,
We look forward to the
I just take a point.
meeting. Yeah, absolutely.
Regardless of when this thing goes in, the last time we saw the bridge close, only 3 weeks, which I thought was pretty good. We're inviting a lot of new merchants to come into our downtown, and it's beginning to flourish. It looks good. We have a new business coming in, a flower shop, the bakery, great coffee, by the way, if you get a chance to go there. The restaurant, the little variety stores, I mean, right across the board. My concern is that some of these are gonna come in, and we all know retail is not the healthiest business line there is out there. As we go forward, if it looks like we're gonna be closing that bridge for more than a specific amount of time, maybe 3 weeks, perhaps we could add to the construction cost a fund that we could apply to the businesses here to help them through, whether it's, and we could develop this program later, but help them with their rent, help them with their payroll or something, so that they don't suffer unduly when we're trying to entice them to come in here. Just kind of keep that bouncing in front of these discussions, if you would.
Don't we still have that money, that grant, I don't know what it's called.
Revolving loan.
Thank you. Don't we still have that?
Yeah, but that is a loan, it's very restrictive, we only have $50,000 and $5,000 increments.
And they don't need a loan. A lot of these folks don't need any more payments.
No.
They need some cash. So just, I don't know what form it would take, I don't know how it would be administered, but we need to kind of keep that bouncing in front of us so we can help these merchants out. That's my only point.
Very good point.
Yeah,
Food for thought until we get to the point of knowing what their plan is.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, once we know what their plan is, then we can zig or zag one way or the other.
At least it'll be out there in our discussions.
Yeah.
I do think in the recommendation of which, if we gotta close down the bridge fully versus doing one lane, I think it would, be good due diligence in order to bake that in, to say we need to support, if we're gonna make the decision of it's gonna be a shorter window but fully close it down, we respect that this does impact the businesses, we need to support them if we can.
And I think the biggest challenge is going to be, how much the village residents are gonna be on the hook for.
Yeah.
If it's $250,000 versus $500,000,
And then
it's-
adding in money for businesses on top of
It's
that,
gonna
we're
be
gonna
a-
be asking a lot from a small pool of taxpayers.
Well, maybe there's some funding of another source, too.
It could be, yeah.
Taxes, I'm just saying, Boss.
Yeah.
Let's see what's out there
Yeah,
before we knock it down.
yeah. So,
Do you
I
think
think
it would
most
have any impact on what they're gonna decide to do if we say, that shutting down the bridge is just too much of an impact on the community?
I don't know that if they're gonna do something that's gonna run 45 to 60 days, I don't know that the state would allow AOT to shut it down because it's such an artery. That's my 2 cents. I could be wrong. I mean, they allowed us to shut it down for 10 days, so.
Well, I mean,
But
78,
45 to 60 days is a lot longer than 10 days.
78 doesn't get taken care of very good.
No, it doesn't.
They still ain't got no guardrails up there where that truck went in.
Right.
So obviously, either they're not aware of it or they're not really that concerned, so they may, I think we ought to voice our concern to them.
Yeah, and we do that at that meeting and,
I mean, it's an inconvenience either way.
Oh,
Even
yeah.
if they're doing one lane or something like that, that's gonna be bad as well, and that's gonna be for 2 or 3 times longer. The inconvenience, because the traffic backing out through the village, through the town, that's gonna affect the businesses as well.
Certainly will.
Yeah.
Yeah, again, I think the next meeting we'll have more information. You guys are the lead, obviously, and we'll be there to talk about our concerns and just keep promoting our concerns, and we'll keep working this issue.
Keep our fingers crossed for a good maintenance overhaul. 30, 40 years.
Yeah.
I agree with Dave that, you know, I think it's going to be a less project than a total rebuild. I really, you know, I really think that's what's gonna happen. Because they're gonna find that it's not as in bad shape as what they think it is. And they're gonna do a 40-year fix on it versus a 90-year fix. So,
We'll see.
We can
We'll see.
We can always-
yep.
Okay. Under any other necessary business, hometown heroes.
Mike,
Yes.
Oops, Steve?
just maybe this for other business, where I can talk about something?
We're gonna, we had hometown heroes.
Oh,
so-
okay, fine.
Yeah, we're gonna go, and I think you were gonna talk, and
Yeah, it's fine.
So, trustee Kelleher has spearheaded the Hometown Heroes banner that will be going up in the spring. And she is still searching for sponsors for the KIAs on the monument. And I'm hoping that the town and the village will each contribute $175 to cover 2 of them. So, that would be my request.
and that's one village, one town. I would like
Correct.
to up that to 350 each and get 2 each. There's 19 names on the monument. And that doesn't include Civil War, but I think that's a different action. There's 19 names there, and then there's 2 other names on the bridge from the Vietnam War, so there's 21. One more?
So there's one left to sponsor on the bridge.
Right, but it just, as far as the total numbers
Total
that,
number. Yeah.
we were looking at 21, and several have been sponsored, but, how many of the 21?
I have one left on the bridge, which is the Mr. Benyosh.
Yeah,
Or Specialist Benyosh. And then I have, 11 on the monument.
yeah, so if we possibly did 2, and you did 2, we'd get it down to 7, which is good, because in discussions we've had, those should be priority.
Right.
How much would it cost to do them all, Susan?
$175 a piece, so, wow,
14, so depends on $2,000
yeah.
roughly, 2,100.
Seems a small amount of money to say thank you.
And then if we added one, we were discussing the Civil War, we thought we could do one banner for all of them with the Union symbol, and, you know, for the fallen, Swanton's fallen in the Civil War, you know, some kind of wording like that on the banner, and just have it over by the park, by the Goddess of Liberty.
So 1925 for the 11, 175 for the Civil War is $2,100.
Yeah.
Good point.
And I would point out to the trustees, we have $7,000 left in it, but we could easily make a motion on the 25th to cover half of that out of our
And we
funds.
could take 1,000 out of our special funds if they're $1,050, if everybody agreed, and just be done.
Yeah.
I would make a motion to take the $1,000 out of our special funds to cover the cost.
And I would second that.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any further discussion? All those in favor state aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So moved. There you go.
And we'll do ours next meeting.
All right. Promote Swanton.
Yes, I had, we're looking at possibly updating the website to add up on the top. I'm not that tech savvy, but we hit this thing and it's, you know, will be for visitors or happenings, or, you know, and it would go right to whatever's going on here in the town, in Swanton. It would have a link to the Chamber of Commerce. Businesses links could be there too, because, you know, I mean, if people are looking else, people that live in Swanton, kind of, like me, when I go on a trip, I usually kind of look at I go to the town, I don't go to a certain thing, or the city or whatever, and then I can find out, you know, they always have happenings and places to go, blah, this is where we could advertise the refuge, you know, I'm sure that we gotta get together with the Friends of Cisco and you know, but I'm sure they'd be excited about doing something like this. We can promote our rail trail, a couple of, but there's more things too that we, you know, could be part of that, of what we're promoting on that site, so when somebody, and then even the people in Swanton, you know, if they know if everything's there and it's kept up and run properly, they're probably gonna use that to find out what's going on, you know, outside of government. But we do a good job, but the new website does a good job with the, you know, the town and village stuff and what's going on, you know, with the boards and stuff. But as far as the community, I think we need to make an effort. Now, there's gonna be a lot of work involved into it. We're gonna have to get all the organizations that are here in Swanton, they're gonna have to designate a person to get, you know, we'll have to put some kind of format that we need this in, so when it goes to Christina, all she's gotta do is look it over and make sure the work, you know, there's no having on Zoom, stuff in there, and then she can, you know, and it'll create a little extra work, but, you know, that's part of the reason why we created her position, is so that we could do more of these things. And much to my surprise, it's only $50. Pretty cheap for what it could do.
That's to get the link, and then
Yeah.
Christina does the
Yeah.
inputting.
I mean, it would take some time to build it all, but once
Yeah.
it's built, it's easy to adjust it.
Yeah.
And you could put all your meetings and your minutes and everything on there, just like the set pages, so.
So sorry, just confirm, are we looking for an integrated calendar?
Sort of, yeah.
Is that what we're looking at, like
Yeah.
integrated with, here's all the different events from all the different chapters, everything in one spot,
Yeah.
that if somebody's coming in, they can say, here's my consolidated view of what's happening in Swanton over November.
Yeah,
But
right,
promote-
exactly, so we could put in things from, the Abenaki, you know, Creative Heart does a lot of events, we could put hers in, Small Business Saturday, Divine Treasures and Bees are always having these pop-up events, we can put their pop-ups in there. And then, you know, and the library has a lot of events, but it would be, you know, we could
Those
move
things
it over to
can be
that.
added now too, if they sent them.
Excuse me?
Those things can all be added to the calendar
Yeah.
now if they had sent them.
Yeah, I know. So, like, I think one of the things we discussed at the last Promote Swan meeting was to make a calendar for the next year of just events that happen all the time, right? Small Business Saturday, a block party, music in the park, the things that we have planned for next year that people can pick up when they come to vote on town meeting day. But it would be nice to be able to have that online where they can, you know, somebody who's not from here can click in, or somebody who didn't go vote can click in and go, oh, okay, this is what's going on this weekend, this is what I can do. Because there's always something that's going on in town. And I think it's just being able to put it out there and having more traffic to be able to get people in the door to these events.
Okay. Anything else, Earl?
No, we'll just keep working on it, and, you know, we're gonna have to get together with all the different, organizations, and, you know, that's probably gonna take as long as anything, you know, to get that put together, and I don't know, we'll have to find out what kind of format we need to get in, to get to Christina, you know, how she would want it done.
Right.
Would
And
there
I
be
don't
a
know if that's
form
got
to
any-
fill out, or,
Yeah.
yeah.
There's a link now on the website for anybody to submit things.
One of the hardest parts about that, though, is so many of our organizations are lacking capacity, especially our small business owners, so it's one more additional step for them to go to that link.
Yeah.
So really coming up with a way to streamline that process, so when, you know, things are going in, either, you know, it'd be nice if something could just pull from all of our collective websites or all of our collective places to dump in there, because again, it's, you know, we've gotta just thinking about what Swanton Rec does, it's to everybody on our membership list, it's to all of our social media channels, it's to the school, it's putting, you know, calling town and put it on a sign, it's, you know, and then there's more other steps, so it's how do we make it easier for everybody to put it in one spot, and make it really simple.
Yeah. And I know I've been finding like a lot of events on Facebook, which is where a lot of our small businesses use to promote their events, so then I'll look at the events and then I'll try to remember to mention them, I'll write them down, mention them at the end of our meetings, which I've been doing lately. So just, and I guess I could take that next step and put it into Christina to put on the on the page so that it's one less step that our businesses have to take since, you know, I do that sometimes.
That business must be posted on the chamber site too, right?
Not all of our
No.
businesses belong to the chamber.
That's the challenge.
Yeah, that's the other issue we got here,
That's-
because we have businesses in the town, you know, I'm thinking on West Swanton, Devon's and, Den's,
Right.
the wholesale day, Greengrass's place.
Yep.
You know, and even the campgrounds down there, they probably already have websites,
Right.
you know.
Yeah. Well, like Nicole said, it's all about capacity. It's having that one or two or three people in the organization that, you know, are willing to commit to the time. And
But if we can list those businesses in that, on that page,
We can,
It's a
and
start.
then all they gotta do is click on there and they'll go right directly to their website.
right.
We could do that now.
Yeah.
Yeah, but they don't have the businesses listed in there,
No.
and it's not on a
If we
separate
had
page.
all their websites, they could, the links could be added right to the Promoting
Yeah.
Swanton site.
Yeah,
I think that's something that we as a committee could
Yeah,
can look
generate
at that,
quite
yeah.
easy.
Yeah.
but that's, you know, that's along the lines that I've seen in other communities on their websites. I've seen this stuff. St. Albans, I think, St. Albans Dale, that's something similar to that in the city, I don't know what.
Yeah.
Okay. How's that?
Yep.
Thank you, Earl. Real quick on the signs, you're gonna hand out, the town set aside some special funds to purchase 4. Originally, there were 4 signs installed as part of the chamber. The signs are in kind of rough shape and some of them have sponsors listed underneath them. I'm trying to move forward with getting these things replaced. I took one picture and stuck it on here. Nicole's actually gonna send this out and solicit from different people some thoughts. I think the basic sign is probably okay with most people, but what we put kind of for that picture is up for grabs. I put a town emblem down at the bottom, a high school emblem, Abnaki emblem, and a village emblem. And I think that's okay with people. We did check with the Abnakis, they're comfortable with it. If someone has a thought of more than 4, we could put 4 on the front and some on the back. We just, food for thought, so I wanted to share it with the village as a heads up, and I'll come to another meeting when we have some other ideas maybe for the picture and stuff. And see if we can get a head nod from you folks that you're comfortable with it, and it's time to replace those things. When I drive by them, they are getting
Yeah, they
uglier
were
by the day.
installed almost 20, 25 years ago.
Been there a while.
Yeah. So I just wanted to throw that out there.
Start looking.
Here, Nico.
All right, just, this was just for discussion. To think about our beautification committee, the great job they've done with the flowers. You look at downtown, I noticed the old vacant Ford building is now occupied. So we're making a lot of progress, a lot of juice coming out of this. One of the concerns I have is that we have some tenants and property owners that seem to have lost enthusiasm in how they maintain their properties. And I did a quick search a while ago with our tax department, our listers. A lot of these are not locally owned, and we all understand that. My concern is, and maybe it's time for us as both governing bodies, with the zoning board, or whatever we call it now, planning commission, the 2 government bodies, and put our heads together to see if there's some way we can get these properties cleaned up. I don't care which artery you take to come into the village, there's some crap there, excuse me. And you go off on the side streets and it gets worse. And if we're trying to promote Swanton as the beautiful community that it really is, I think this is a blight on our progress. So, I'm wondering if it's worthwhile for us in the future, maybe in the next 90 days, to try to come up with an approach to address it. Maybe it's gonna require some zoning changes, more teeth in zoning, more teeth in the planning, and on. Something to give us some strength to clean these properties up.
Would that not fall into an ordinance that could then be enforced by our police department?
Good question, and I don't know. I don't know the answer to that. And then we have individual rights, I understand that. People can do what they want with their properties. But it also brings down the value of the neighborhood. You know, you have a nice home right across the street is a dump. And I just think it's time for us to try to address it one more time, again, that's all. To maintain the beauty of what we're promoting here.
And I guess my next question is, wouldn't that fall into the health officer sphere? Which I'm not really, I haven't familiarized myself with totally, but I'm working on it.
A facade that is falling apart is not a health issue.
Okay.
So now you gotta look into some type of ordinance, as you say, and if it's not a safety issue, good electrical or something, and we don't even have inspections, it's a tough one. And so I don't know what other communities try to do or not do, and yeah, I don't even know where to start on it, but I just know things like the health officer and like a safety inspection
For rentals.
for rentals, there's that piece of it, but just the facade itself
Gotcha.
is not an issue for either of those.
Gotcha.
Safety inside is gonna be lead paint, electrical,
Fire alarms.
fire alarms, plumbing systems working, that sort of, you know. But I fully agree, but I don't,
No,
that's
yeah,
a tough one.
I was thinking the same thing, Steve, and I was thinking like, I think maybe an ordinance might be the way to go, because we are spending so much money to make this place beautiful. And then you drive by certain streets or certain houses on certain streets, and it, you know, just takes the value of
And
everything we're
again,
doing.
you know, we don't wanna get into somebody's personal lives
No,
and their
absolutely.
personal habits.
Yeah,
Even if it came to, we had some kind of a process where we met with the property owners, whether they be out of town, absentee management or ownership, or local, and tried to work with them to clean up the mess. So I don't know where this is gonna go, But I
You're
think
talking working, or you talking money, Steve?
I don't know. I'm just seeing what kind of discussion, where that's gonna lead us.
I think what I'd like to do for tonight is you've opened it up,
Yeah, that's fine.
and then we're talking about getting together again fairly soon. and-
That was my point.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
that,
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah.
Let's throw it on the next agenda.
I mean, to that same
If we have
point,
something great, if not, then
to that same point, that the planning commission is working on a bylaw update or rewrite, so, you know,
So
having input or feedback now from everybody is important, which to my knowledge, they've received not as much as they probably would have liked, so just as you guys are the other governing body, it's important for us to all think about
And
this.
we're gonna have, when they're ready, the planning commission is gonna have a public hearing on the proposed changes, and they'll come to this board, but you're gonna get to that meeting as well, so you'll hear everything. And I have some ideas too along those lines.
Okay.
I get a little frustrated driving down the street and seeing day after day somebody's old couch out there. You know?
how long should we allow stuff to stay on the curb? There should
It
be
might be somebody's
something.
new living room set.
It's the free tile thing.
I agree.
Yeah, so, you know, I have some ideas too, so I certainly hear what you're saying.
Thank you.
If it's stuff that's related to bylaw changes, it would be good to try to get to them. I don't know when they're gonna have their first public hearing, but we'll give them a chance to work.
Well, I know the
something.
planning commission's meeting Tuesday night, and
Monday night.
Monday
Yeah.
night, sorry. And I'll plan on trying to be there.
All right.
Well, I'm getting to that here.
I do think you bring up an interesting predicament though, if you have out-of-state owners where if, let's say I'm in an apartment that I'm renting, right? I'm not gonna invest my own dollars, and if the outside facade is falling apart, I'm only a rental, so I care about the inside, I care about my possessions, but I'm not going to personally invest my dollars in fixing the outside. Now, I know there might be some other junk or anything else that might be on the yard to worry about, and that's something I could personally take care of. But outside of that, where can I invest? So I do think that there's some healthy conversations, you know, to your point there, that we could have with external parties to set some of those, you know, I don't know if it is whatever that medium is going to be of enforcement, but we can push that. But yeah, I think that's an interesting predicament.
There are some responsible landlords who do reside outside of Swanton, but still within Franklin County, and one comes to mind a couple of months ago, but It just happened that the fire chief called this person, and I called them, the health officer, and the fire chief called him for a similar complaint, and he like called me back. He says, I just got off the phone with the fire chief, and I have you calling. He says, I'm gonna tell them, I'm not gonna, it's meaning his tenants, I'm not gonna put up with this, they're gonna stop it. That was it, you know, so, yeah, there are responsible landlords too, so.
Of course.
Oh, yeah,
Oh, for sure.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Yep.
Thank
All right.
you.
All right, Steve, I think that's our list of meeting topics. I know we're probably getting close to adjourning, but I don't know if you have anything you'd like to add tonight? Just wish you well as you get ready to head down there. It sounds like they might actually be listening down there. A lot I see.
Well, Joel, thank you very much, and thank you to the village and all the trustees as well, and to all the voters in Swan that did vote to send Representative Tom Oliver and I back to Montpelier. There should be a significantly different balance, and most of the committees will be undergoing some significant leadership change, and we do have a very interesting race for Speaker of the House, which I never would have thought that we would have much say in that, but now with 56 and potential 57 votes, where last year we finished up down at 36, that's a pretty significant change. So our opportunity for input in committees and on issues is going to be significantly different. And maybe we'll have some things that we have to do for you as well. But I'm open to hear wherever that is. I'm glad that there was a reason to help make sure that I got here. So I appreciate that. And it's nice to see so many friendly faces that I don't get to see as regularly as I'd like. But I'm very interested in how leadership is going to change. I'm very interested to see whether there will be a new Speaker of the House or not, or what she will do to come to the table to run things differently. And the Senate's a whole nother area where it's much closer to even for the first time in a quarter century. So if there's anything that I hope you'll see is that we will try to do less than what they've done in the last 2 years of ram through everything, and there'll be substantial more consideration of what we do. There was a massive effort to push through hundreds and hundreds of bills in the last session from every topic all over the place, including large and small. And I really hope that we're in a much more careful consideration for what we're doing to Vermonters. I think they spoke pretty loudly, and if we don't make the changes, I guess that'll come back again. So thank you for the time to talk, and appreciate hearing what you guys have to say. And all politics is local in the end.
Well, thank you.
Yes, thank
Good
you.
luck.
I did speak to one of your colleagues in Franklin County, because I wondered if you had a reorganization for the county, and who the head of the county.
There is a meeting next Monday
Yeah.
for the reorganization of the
So-
Franklin County delegation.
Anyways, I said that we would like to have a legislative breakfast in Swanton, but not, he said, well, not the first one, because they had plans for the first one. I said,
Okay.
well, and what he said made sense, so I said, okay, but we would like to have one.
You would like to have one here, or
Well,
or in the village? or
someplace, yeah,
here?
not here. It's
Not
too
here,
small
but
here.
that's something,
Yeah,
would you like to shoot for February or March?
yeah, February would be good. Yeah, and if we could get, the governor would be tough, but maybe Lieutenant Governor Rogers to come.
He's very open, very friendly,
yeah.
very,
Oh, yeah.
he's
Freedom boy.
and he has strong relationships here in Franklin County, so that
Yes,
certainly would
yes.
be an interesting.
And you got a lot of support out of this.
He certainly did, and the governor was far more active in this election than in the
Yeah,
previous ones
yeah.
as well, and he's been very receptive to trips. I'm not
Good.
saying that I could get him here, but I could certainly
It'd be
work
nice,
on it.
one or the other, but, we know the governor is sometimes difficult to get, but Lieutenant Governor is fine.
Well, if we have plenty of time in advance, that's the best way to
Right.
go about it, right?
That's right.
So we want me to push for February
Yeah.
here?
Please.
Okay.
Yeah. Sounds good.
All right, thank you.
Okay, thank
Now, from village perspective, we good tonight?
Good.
As far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, so I guess you can adjourn your meeting, we're gonna continue on.
Move we adjourn the village portion of this joint meeting
I'll
at
second.
6:59.
Second.
Okay, we have a first and a second to adjourn the village part of this meeting, joint meeting. Any further discussion?
Sir.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, motion passed to adjourn.
Thank you very much for coming tonight.
All right, thank you.
Good discussions.
I'll see you tomorrow.
Yeah, you bet. Yeah.
See ya, thank you.
Have a good evening.
Bye.
Yeah, the light's on, so be careful.
No good.
Oh, we were-
there's some of these,
How nice, line it
yeah,
up.
I don't mind saying, these, a couple few things I would say is that it's very hard as a representative that's been along more conservative Republican, land rights, your own private property versus what they do or don't do to keep it up. That is a real struggle issue. And the local options tax in general, I'm not in favor of larger government or more taxes, but it's been incredibly successful in a lot of, and it's really would be hugely valuable to us. So there's a lot of things that change over the political career of where I thought I might have been and to where I was before. And
Absolutely, it's all a big learning process.
I used to think term limits were something that I was in favor of. I can tell you it takes at least 2 terms to really understand what you can do and be effective, just to learn how everything works. You need at least a full term. If you have no background, you need at least a full term, if not 2 terms, to have an idea of how to really help your community and help move things forward. So if there was a 3-term limit, you wouldn't get anywhere.
Yeah.
Anyway, those are a lot of things I'm learning as I go through it. Thank you very much.
All right, thanks for your time. All right, we didn't really adjourn because the way we do joint meetings is we have to be in session anyway, so, agenda review, do we have anything to add for the actual select board meeting tonight? Anybody? Sarah,
I do.
Kathy? Yep, all right, Kathy.
Just under orders, I have the school orders.
G, school order,
Yes,
all right,
thank you.
Nicole?
No.
Earl?
Nope.
I don't have anything additional, Brendan?
In the email that was shot out to us, sorry, for the addition of, it was plowing that road, the lawyers.
Oh, the maintenance agreement?
Yeah,
Yeah, I can talk on that under
Right.
highway,
okay, cool. Just wanted to double check on that, because I had some questions on what they sent back.
and if I forget that, remind me,
I will,
okay,
because there was a couple items that they added.
anything additional?
Yeah, I'd like just to talk a little bit about the audit report for the period ending 12/31/22. And then, and maybe, what's that?
I didn't get a copy of it.
Okay, and that's good, because that's what I want to talk about.
Okay.
Yeah, and then some just general discussion, and I had some recommendations. And this is as much from my understanding, because I'm not sure how all this works. So I just thought we'd have a discussion at the end.
On the audit report under Newtown Business?
Yeah,
Oh,
well,
Okay.
no, you can do it on this one, I don't care where you put it.
Well, we'll put it under Newtown Business.
Sure, okay, yep.
All right, Brian, you have anything?
No, I'm,
All right, minutes, special select board meeting of November 4th, 2024, I'll entertain a motion to approve.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes for November 4th, 2024.
I hear a second,
Second,
motion is made and seconded, any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, so moved. Public comment, we don't have anybody up on the screen, nobody in the crowd. Any board members have anything for public comment? Hearing none. Law enforcement, Swanton Animal Control, there's a few items in our package. Give everybody a minute to take a look at that, any questions, we'll pass them on to Brian.
Oh, actually, I saw this on our Facebook page, but just wanted to confirm, should the public be calling the animal control if there's a problem with skunks or anything like that, or should they be calling the game warden? Game warden? Okay, just wanted to make sure, I saw that as a controversial post on Facebook, so I wanted to bring it up when I saw this.
Oh, good point.
Okay,
the animal control is strictly dog and an injured cat,
okay,
but other than that, you know.
sounds good. Just wanted to clarify, there was some controversy, so.
Alright, everybody good with the animal control report?
Yep.
Alright, moving on, expenditures. Oh, right here in front of me, it looks like they're all the same dates, 16 October 2024 to 11/19/2024, so I don't think we need to go through and do the dates for each one. For general orders, I'll entertain a motion to approve the general orders for,
I'd make a motion to approve the general orders for $278,099.84.
do I hear a second?
A second?
Motion's been made and seconded, is there any discussion?
I asked Kathy about this earlier, and I was just curious where I saw that one thing.
It's on page 1 of 4. It looks like there's 2 checks for 28470, but only 1 check was printed, so I gotta see what happened with that.
So,
Page 1 of 4,
Yeah,
what was the check amount?
It was for 1,391.03, it's check number
Oh, okay,
28470. It's a duplicate, and I'll have to see why it's duplicate.
But pending that, I'm fine with everything.
Any other discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor state aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed, so moved. Highway orders, I'll entertain a motion to approve
I'll make a motion to approve the highway orders,
for the amount of.
for the amount of $419,385.72.
I'll second.
Motion been made and seconded to approve the highway orders. Any discussion? It's actually a high number, but very little of it's, the actual highway.
It's not highway.
It's our other,
Fire protection.
items we put into that budget, yep. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those state aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So moved. Library, entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to accept the library orders in the amount of $1,377.09.
Second.
Motion been made and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor state aye. Aye. Opposed? So moved. Highway and general payroll, entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to accept the payroll orders in the total amount of $42,560.43.
Do I hear a second?
A second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor state aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So moved. Library payroll,
I make a motion, we accept the library payroll of $8,488.
do I hear a second?
Second.
Motion's made and seconded. Any discussion? Brendan did. All those in favor state aye.
Aye.
Opposed, so moved. Special, entertain a motion. Special funds,
I'll make a motion to accept the special funds in the amount of $9,417.41.
do I hear a second?
Second.
Motion been made and seconded. Is there any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor state, actually under discussion. I thought we already paid the line. I thought we talked about it last week, or last meeting.
We talked about, why is it on there? Oh, because we had to make, I made the check out to the chamber and I had to make it out to Brandon's directly.
Okay, so
The other
the
check
other,
got voided and we had to do a new check to Brandon's.
alright, so I thought we'd gone through that before, so. Alright. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor state aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So moved. And we've got the Missisquoi Valley Union School District. Do I entertain a motion?
I'll make a motion to accept the orders for MVSD in the amount of $9,610,852.10.
Second.
Motion been made and seconded. Is there any discussion?
Is that the annual payment, Kathy?
It fluctuates because, yeah, it's a one-time
Yeah,
year
it's a one-
payment based on the budget.
Any other discussion?
Do we get a
Hearing none.
breakout?
Oh, sorry.
Just a quick question. Do we get a breakout of the school budget of what they're spending? I know not here, but like, is that public?
They put an annual
They
report
do.
out.
They do, okay.
You can find it on their website. They're
Okay.
actually in talks right now of their budget, so if you're interested and invested in what they're spending money on, they need public comment
Okay.
drastically.
I got one question too, Kathy, do they, obviously not everybody pays their taxes, but we always have delinquent taxes, but do you have to pay the school or the school wait till we collect it?
We pay them.
You pay them, so that's up to.
Yeah.
Do you know how much that takes out of our budget? Because actually, we're using some of our money to pay them.
Well, if I go and look at it and calculate. what's
Well, it's
in
not, I just wonder how much that is, but it never puts us in a real bad volume anyway.
No. No. Usually, a lot of it gets collected within the first 60 days.
60
anyway,
days,
60,
so
yeah.
I think she was stuffing 200-something envelopes tonight.
Yeah.
Yeah. Any other discussion? All those in favor state aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? So moved. Highway Department. Okay. Vehicles are looking good. There was a power steering leak in our 2012 International dump truck. Repaired yesterday and tested today. It seems to be fine. Our 2024 Western Star dump truck, the dump body is on, the plow frame is on. Hopefully in the next few weeks, it'll be finished up and delivered here. That would be nice with the winter season coming. Some of the work they've done in the last week was some ditch work, some cleaning up of leaves. They've received and stored salt. They have 219 tons out of the 358 that anticipate using for the winter. Sand, the shed is full, which I mentioned before, but they want to get 10 or 12 more loads, and they just store that outside. So they'll be doing that. Very positive note is the insurance did an inspection of the garage last Wednesday and stated it was one of the best they've seen. They had a few minor things to correct, but overall they were very impressed with what's taking place up there. And I don't know if you got any more to add to that. But I heard he even stated it was probably the best one he's seen.
Yeah, he actually took pictures so he can show other places in safety training and whatnot. This is how his garage should look. So, yeah, the gentleman who's been hired by Passive, our insurance company, that conducts this safety inspections, as you will, and they look for potential risk or problems you might encounter, lives here in town. He bought a place down on Hog Island, so it's right on his way to work, so he stops in and he always calls to make an appointment, of course, but no, nice guy and very thorough. So yeah, the guys do a great job.
Very good team up there.
Yeah.
Very conscientious. Work plan for the next 4 weeks. It's some tree removal, a little more vehicle maintenance, not much. Some storm drain down at the wreck that we've talked about. A good chance to get started this week or early next week. It's probably a day and a half project, but that should help take care of some of the water issues down at wreck. Regarding Brooklyn Street, I made contact with the homeowners where we would impact their property. They're all for us doing the work. It actually should help drain their property a little bit too, so we have to do a utility easement with them, but they seem very receptive. So I've talked with Tyler from East Engineering and he's going to prepare a drawing that we will use as part of the utility easement. So we should be on track for getting the wetlands permit that we need and the utility easement that we need to be able to do this work next spring. Swanton Hill Road, Tyler's still working on that, but we're also waiting for a memo from the attorney that our decision at the grade that we're gonna go is okay. We actually had a telecon and the attorney was comfortable with it, but we haven't seen a memo from him yet. Tyler was gonna follow up on that. Brian sent out the proposed maintenance and repair agreement, which we didn't ask for at the meeting. And I sent a note back to the attorney and said it's too early for that yet, and we were going to talk about maybe some changes to our road takeover policy. And she answered back she was going to send that info to the client, so that's where that one stands right now. Yeah.
Sorry, can I add a comment?
Oh, absolutely.
My concern just reading that real quick is, and maybe I misunderstood in the last meeting when we discussed it, but that it was an agreement to take over the plowing of the road, not the maintenance of the road. So I was confused by the language in the document stating that we would maintain the paving of the road as well, which I was surprised to see.
That actually is what we were talking about, like for the other site, is because we're taking over the road, the stormwater is preventing that, but the intent is to take over the road, which includes the maintenance and repair, and if 10, 12 years, the resurfacing, if that's what's needed, then that's something we've all gotta talk about, and like you said, we ought to have a statement in there. I agree with you that every so many years that gets reviewed, cause there could be some other issues that come up regarding the stormwater with the state that complicates things, so it just doesn't become everlasting. But we're not to that point yet. That's a document that they sent.
You're talking about an expiration date, at which time we'll revisit it.
Right. But that's right now is something that I just pushed it back and said, we're not even ready yet for entering into one, and haven't heard anything from our other folks that we talked about, that they were supposed to pave at the end of October and they were gonna come back to us, and we haven't heard anything.
I think my confusion was not more so the takeover, it was, I think in the last conversation we had, it was having those agreements with communities where they had that ownership of the road still, but we would assist in plowing if they met certain criteria, which we were defining in the document that I think you're sharing here today, of the pavement had to be so much or whatever, but in those instances where the developer didn't leave, it's an easement to all properties, but it's the properties themselves go right up against each other. So there's no empty space for the town to actually take over the road without the properties getting in the way.
That could be an issue, the stormwater could be an issue, but that wouldn't prevent us from necessarily taking it over.
Okay.
Not taking it over, but to enter in an agreement to maintain and repair the road like we owned it, but that's something we gotta discuss for each particular one. That's just my opinion, but each one is separate in terms of whether it's the land issue, okay, I understand that one, and then whether it's stormwater issue.
No, that makes sense.
Yeah. So, if there's no other questions regarding the overall report, after the whole issue with the stormwater discussion that we had, I thought I should take a look at the road takeover policy and propose some changes to it. We don't have to spend a lot of time on it tonight, we've already been here an hour, 20 minutes, but if people wanna take a look at this and then come back and maybe next meeting we can finalize this, if that's what we wanna do. Had a discussion with another engineer about the thickness, I adjusted that. Added a statement about basically putting in the base course of asphalt and waiting a year, especially in a new development. It's very good to wait until after the houses are built and most of the heavy traffic is done before you put on the wear course, and that way you can see where there may be some other issues that need to be fixed. Talk about the road commissioner and the foreman should need to inspect it and report the condition to the select board. And under the stormwater permits, I added a couple sentences because it's all related to the fact that originally we thought we could separate maybe the road prior to the stormwater permit, and we found out from the state that's not so easy. So I put in some verbiage to address that. And then down at the bottom, asking for a written request, because there's a lot of things in here that need to be addressed, and it should be in a letter explaining how they're meeting each of these to us, and then we can take a look at it and decide whether or not we're going forward.
Yeah, and, I think that's a good addition. Can we put something in there at least 30 days before the meeting or something like that? So we'll have a chance to read it?
Sure.
And I get uncomfortable when they walk in and hand it to you. We don't have a chance to digest it, but this is good.
To me, it's after, we've learned a lot in the last
Absolutely.
6 months about trying to do this, so thought that we should take a look. So next meeting, if everyone's good, we'll talk about it some more, and if everyone's comfortable, we'll approve something. All right, Old Town business, town office repairs, Brian?
No, anyways, town office repairs. We got all of the bills in except for the IT. He's gonna bill us separately, we haven't received that. However, so I sent in, finalized the claim to the insurance company. Total bills that we have paid was $15,425.15. The adjuster had put a net claim in of $17,729.49. So bottom line is, I talked with the people at the insurance company last week, and they said that, well, we have a $1,000 deductible, so they'll deduct that from the $15,425. And we received a check yesterday for $14,425.15. When we get the IT bill, they said to send it in and they'll pay it, because we've already paid the deductible. So that, us, for repairs, $1,000.
That came out very well.
Sure did.
Nice job by everybody cooperating and making it happen. A lot of work on Brian's part. The highway guys came and did some stuff, and our staff had to live with it for several weeks.
But everybody pulled together, and some people wanted, a lot of people coming in, of course. Is this the new entrance now? Is this the new office? No, it's just a temporary. So, and when they put up the temporary wall and the door, that material was all kept by the town. They put up with the garage, so in case we need it or we need for a door, we've got it. So, yeah.
All right,
Very pleased.
thank you. Last meeting, put out some possible way to do employee appraisals, personnel appraisals. Don't know if anyone had any thoughts or
It looked good.
anything they wanted to add. One
Looked good.
One thing under the, kind of the guidelines is the road foreman. Should the select board do it, road commissioner do it?
No, I wouldn't fill out any of the forms, you can use anyone you want, but we don't see the highway employees, we don't really deal directly with the highway employees. The road commissioner does deal with the road foreman. I mean, the protocol, wouldn't it be for the road foreman to do an evaluation of his employees?
Yes.
We look at that, you would do an evaluation of him, we would look at that. The only people that I would feel comfortable doing an evaluation on is basically Brian and Christina, because those are the ones we see and work with also.
Zoning administrator works for us.
Yeah, but I don't see the zoning administrator unless I need something in zoning.
No, but if we don't do it, then
Well, that would fall under Brian's.
she doesn't work for Brian.
He's the assistant zoning administrator too, right?
Zoning administrator works for us. I know we don't interact a lot with her, but she works for us.
I know that, but Brian
So-
oversees the zoning.
No.
I thought you were.
He does not.
No.
He's filling in.
I'm filling in, but no,
That's because of
because.
what's going on, but as far as day-to-day
supervising.
operations,
So nobody oversees the zoning.
the select board.
Select board.
Well, I guess we have to do it then. Otherwise, we really only have one report to fill out, we just gotta look at the rest of them. And then if we got some issues, or a member of the board has a concern about something, an employee, they can bring it up when they're looking at it, but.
Well, should we talk, Earl raised a good point. Should we talk to the listers or whoever and just get their opinion? I mean, they don't interact with us either.
Listers, we don't oversee, really, they're elected officials.
Okay. But what were you talking about?
I'm talking about the zoning
Oh,
administrator.
zoning, I'm sorry, I was making notes on this.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's one thing as select board members, we ought to make a point of stopping by once in a while and asking how things are going and,
I mean, I have interaction with it,
yeah.
but
And we can gather information over the course of a year to sit down and say, we're comfortable with how things are going or we're not, and give her some feedback. I mean, I think we can. If we say that's what we're gonna do.
So do we each individually fill out a form and then collectively get together and talk about our findings? Is that how you've done it in the past?
That's, yeah. Yeah. And we could, And under reorg, we could appoint one person as kind of the key one to watch zoning, the kind of liaison with the zoning administration. And then at the end of the year, we would have someone who's paying more attention to that to start the process, and then we sit as a board and talk about it. That's another way we can handle that one. So I think what we need to do, and Brian is very busy right now, but I think what we need to do is come up with some blank forms for each of the ones to be approved. And then see it by the end of December if we can agree that this is the way we're going forward.
I just have a question. Kathy, you're elected. Does anybody do you?
No.
Okay, I just curious.
Voters.
Well, I realize that, I know that's the end result, but I didn't know if there was, and someone that works with you or anything, okay.
And you find out you're rating in the booth, right?
Yeah.
All right, moving on to new town business, discussion of 2025 budget schedule.
I just put that on there so we don't forget.
I
But,
put together year-to-date and preliminary starting budget sheets for each department.
Three,
Is that everybody?
yeah, well,
Oh, yeah, and I got one for you, Brian, too, because I didn't give you one. So this is just the start of, just basically the start. It's the I filled in some of the budget stuff, and then I put in the year-to-date expenses underneath for each one. And I filled in some of the stuff online. I usually throw some into the highway department, but I left it up as usual.
Yeah, Kevin and I met today,
And I
we're gonna
filled in
start
what I
working,
could.
we're gonna start working line item estimates for next year, we're gonna start working next week on it,
Yeah,
so we can get that to you. But
And Brian
you
and I
can't
sit
get the
down and-
personnel info till we agree on some type of
right.
pay increase, and then the insurance, we're not gonna have for a while, are we?
Right, the insurance, I should get that. I have some of the information on it now, so I'm just gonna have to confirm it up what it's gonna be.
So,
you're looking at 12%?
It's going up.
12%? I've seen a number somewhere.
Nine.
Nine, okay.
Yeah, we did it.
yeah, that's pretty significant when, like in the highway budget, 300,000 out of the 1.4 million is payroll. Health insurance, so I guess is 79, so it'd be 9% of that. But we'll get our info to you, Kathy, hopefully in the next week or two.
Yeah. And I gotta sit down with Brian and some of the line items on ours, and I've gotta wait. We got the information from the insurance information yet, proposed 2025
for the,
insurances,
the liability.
what we're actually gonna be paying.
No,
We got that yet?
no.
Okay.
I have the Eco Pixel when I came today.
Oh, you do? Okay.
Just a question, how do you factor the increase in the FICA, the Medicare? I guess
It's
we're-
based on the payroll.
Okay,
Yeah.
you help me with those numbers.
Yeah, the payroll, it's the FICA Medi or the, but yeah, I can help you with that. And then the Beamers, I can help you with that too.
Okay.
Yeah.
One thing I'm gonna bring up when we talk about the general budget, I just wanna mention it tonight as food for thought. We have appropriations, about 23, 24 appropriations. Right now, they're just melded into the general budget. In the years past, we talked about every so many years, maybe bringing them out as separate line items. It's a little bit of a pain for the voters. One option might be to take a third of them. And so over a course of 3 years, you're always letting the voters decide if they're gonna support the appropriation.
That's a valid point, Joel, because it heightens the awareness of the taxpayers of what goes on in addition to our normal cost of doing business. I don't think it's a big, personally, I don't think it's a big deal. Let them look at all of them.
Right.
Let them raise some questions. You know, when you see a 9% increase, they have a right to question. And maybe they're taking a peek at it over the years, not that big a deal anymore, because of what we're in from a tax situation.
Yeah, so when we get deeper into the general budget, we can have that conversation and,
Yep.
you know, some people say, well, it's in the book. Okay, it's in the book. That doesn't mean people realize that we are doing all these
Absolutely.
separate little appropriations, and it gives them some say in what little more power and
Yep.
decide it, and most of them I think they're gonna approve anyway, but at least we put it out there. Anything else as far as budget discussion? Approved new street and road names.
Looks like we got a couple options.
This is,
So Mr. Belial.
this is for Mr. Belisle on the project up on the Vashon Road. So the way that works for Brendan's benefit, whenever there's a new road, the developer is asked to give us 3 names, and there's certain criteria that the road has to follow.
Okay.
And we also have to check it to make sure that it's not so much of Swanton is got a St. Albans address. So you gotta make sure that St. Albans doesn't have a similar sounding or same exact name. Or Swanton, a lot of St. Albans town down in Palm has got a Swanton address, so they have to do the same thing. So it's, it gets a little involved. So Mr. Belisle, we contact the developers, and Christina did that, and asked for 3 names. And
Does
so.
he have a preference, Brian?
First one.
The first one, Reeves Road is his preference. And that's, we checked that out, that appears to be okay with everybody. Then Fieldstone Drive and Barley Drive, so. But that's his preference in the order that listed.
So he wants Reed Road.
Yeah.
Do we know anything of history of the Reed Road, a name or anything? Property owner at one time, we don't know.
If you get a chance to go up there and look at it, pretty impressive, you know? Did a
Why
good
not?
job.
Well, I'll make a motion to approve the Reed Road. I mean, that's what he wants for a name, and there's no conflict with any other.
No, I understand. So anytime, for Brendan, for you to know, anytime there's a construction or development of anything in one of the 3 houses, it becomes a road. So then the developer, I ask them what you want for a choice for road. The first one is always your first choice. And then to contact 911 to ensure, because they will know. Like I have one on Ian's Road, I've been trying to work with them for about a month. And every choice, nope, that road doesn't work.
So can I ask
I've
the
gone back and
question?
forth so many times.
The first one's a road, the other 2 options are drives.
Yeah,
Does
so
that make
it's
just
one.
one person? No, okay. Just wanted to make sure from that
It just can't
standpoint.
be Avenue.
Fair enough.
Okay, so we got a motion, do I hear a second?
I'll second.
Motion been made and second, any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor state aye.
Aye.
Opposed, so moved, Reeves Road.
I'll just add, this for on that too. Now what we'll do is ask Kevin to order the song, street song, and they'll install it, and that's on the town, first shot. Okay, and if it gets damaged or whatever, well, it's up to the developer, but the sign has to be ordered because that becomes active. Because one of those carpenters or workmen on there could get injured, call an ambulance, and they need to know where to go.
Does Kevin put up the first stop sign?
Not sure that, yeah, the stop sign, yeah, because that's going into our right of way.
Maybe the first stop sign.
And that's something else we're gonna have to do is review all these intersections and we're gonna have to pass a stop sign ordinance or stop.
Next thing, get to use it.
All right, we're gonna move on, we added, audit report under new town business.
Okay, this is, I wanted to bring this up only because I still get confused sometimes as the role of the town clerk, the town treasurer, the select board, and like who's who in the zoo. So I looked at the stuff that you sent out. I think there were 4 attachments that came with this, with the information from the outside auditors. And one of them was the management letter. And there's a whole bunch of questions that I had, probably nothing that bears any concern about the way things are done or dishonesty or anything like that. But I'd like to spend some time, not tonight, talking about how all of this takes place. Who orders the audit? Who oversees the audit? Do they report the audit to Kathy first? Does it come to the select board? Do we take formal action to accept the audit? when we have the internal auditors that are elected, they make a report. Do we accept it? I don't remember if we did, but it seems like it's an incomplete process. So what I was thinking is maybe we could send in a list of questions so that we all understand better this process. But at the end of the day, I think it's the select board that is responsible for the financial performance of the town at the end of the day. I'm not sure, Kathy, how your job is defined, so part of what I'd like to see would probably be your job description as your duties for town clerk. And
I have 2 books you can look at.
what's that?
I have 2 books you can look at. There's one for town clerk and one for town treasurer. It lists all my duties.
Okay, that's fine, but
I can get it for you. I
no,
can
no,
email it to you.
no, you're jumping the gun. I'm
No,
trying to- I'm
so
trying to
then
say.
you'll know what my duties are.
Yeah, and I just like, this is all part of my
Yeah.
understanding, and not just for me, I think everybody should have an opportunity to see this. And then when we get the audit, we're all on the same page, we're all a team. We've, like, for example, have we ever sat down with the outside auditors before they begin their audit and talk about how they're gonna conduct it? And certain things that we might like to see in the audit. And that's pretty standard as it relates to other audits that are done. I don't know how it's done on the town basis. Is that something that we should be doing? To sit down and meet with the auditors before they start? And then we had the management letter, which, and by these reports are pretty generic, they're good, they came out, I don't think anybody has any question on them. But it's the genesis of the whole project that I'm lax on, I just don't understand. So what I thought I would do is suggest that if you're all interested, we send letters to Brian as to what we'd like to see in a discussion of all of this. And then we can talk about it at subsequent meetings. So that at the end of the day, the public knows exactly what we're doing in our fiduciary responsibilities of managing the town's funds, the outside auditors, the inside auditors, and on and on. That's fine. Now, just let me give you an example of they talk about in the management letter that was dated October 17th, we previously reported on the town's internal control in our report dated October 17th. I don't know if I had a copy of that. Maybe it was in that send-out that came out. We became aware of several matters that are opportunities for the strengthening internal controls and operating efficiency. Well, good, but I don't know what those are. So maybe we could get a copy of those, or maybe that's something that the town clerk, town treasurer responds to, or we do it in concert. And then another example is we will review the status of these comments during our next audit engagement. I'm assuming that's for year-end 12/31/23. So that's fine, but should we be meeting with them before they start? And then we can talk about the status of the comments that they made as a result of the year-end 12/31/22 audit, just to bring closure to them. And then we've already discussed many of these comments and suggestions with various organizational personnel, and we will be pleased to discuss these comments further. Okay, what are the comments that they made? Now, then we have this memorandum, and we had a repeat violation. It looks like a very minor thing, but that should get tossed out. And then we have some prior year comments. A lot of it is mechanical stuff, but we need to address them. That they talk about fraud risk assessment. Have you seen this, Kathy?
No.
Okay, so that's an even other reason why I think we should be looking at this in the whole context of what our responsibilities are. And then they get into GASB and some other stuff. It's nothing serious, but we do need to address it. So my thought is, at some meeting, and we can take pieces of it in each one of our meetings, talk about this whole process so we better understand it. And I'm going to suggest that if you think that's a good idea, then we can move forward. We can send Brian all of our thoughts so that we'll know what we're doing, and then he can disseminate them, and we can talk about pieces of them or however.
I think
trying to understand the process is
Yeah.
number one, but I don't think we have a written process anywhere. As far as what the select board does or doesn't do with the audits.
Oh, what the select board.
Yeah, I mean, some of it is just codifying what you're saying is if the select board decides we wanna speak with the auditors before they start, then we should codify that as, here's how we're gonna handle audits.
Good
And-
example, good example.
And if we're gonna want them to physically be here to present their findings, in the past, you know, not this year, since I've been here in January, but in the past, we had auditors sit down at the table and go over it. It didn't take a long time.
The outside or the elected?
Outside auditors came in and presented their report
Okay.
briefly, kind of an executive
Yep.
summary, but that's been years since that's happened. But the codify part of that, and I don't know, because you're the one with the banking experience and understand this the best of all of us, I think, and Brendan, you chime in anytime here, is, you know, codifying of what you think should be the process, so that we formalize getting an auditor in here, just
Yep.
to cover stuff, if that's part of what
That's
we
what
want
I'm
to
talking
do.
about, yeah.
Yeah, so if you started that piece and get it to Brian, and then if members have other things they want to see.
I think, just to echo something you mentioned earlier too, is that we also, part of the process here has to also be, how do we follow up to the points that they are making in that, to say, you know, if they have signaled that there are certain things that we missed on in prior years and we're a repeat offender, then that's 100% on us, and that's because we don't have a set stone process. And so we need to be able to at least nail those down now. To your point, these might be minor issues that we're running into, but we shouldn't be duplicating issues, right? Like, we should at least be solving for what they brought up previously, or at least be holding ourselves accountable.
At least discussing it, whether we
Yeah.
think it's an action item. We
Yes.
might
Yeah,
find something in there that we say, that isn't.
exactly, yeah. And to your point, that's where you have that conversation beforehand, because they could be doing it in a way that doesn't make sense to what we need for the context, right? And so that's, I 100% agree.
And again, in my business, you don't want a repeat violation, ever. And in this, and I don't think it's any lesser important here that we have that. And again, it's not a serious thing, but let's get them off the slate. You clean these
I
up.
can tell you my process with them, what I have to do with them, if you wanna see that other side of it.
Sure.
So basically what they do is I give them my trial balance, my detailed transaction journal, any journal entries I've done, which is all the activity that I've done for the year on any expense, any anything. And then they'll take that, plus I send them all my bank statements from beginning of the year, end of the year, on all the accounts. I send them 941s, the Beamer's reports. They'll randomly, from the general ledger, they'll randomly select bills that I paid. They wanted the backup checks and the invoices. Then we do, there's a lot, I usually have a stack of stuff to give them. It's the 941s, the W-2s, the 1099s, our retirement, all legal fees we've paid, our bank statements, beginning of the year, end of the year, and all of our accounts. And then they take that information, and then they'll come here for 3 days, and then they'll just randomly ask me to go grab that file with that check in it, or bring me that information on that transaction, or so they spend like 3 or 4 days here, and then they take everything back, and then they do a report, and then they go from there.
Yeah, what you just did was perfect. You just defined the process.
Yeah.
Okay? That should be part of what we come up with at the end. We have this document, and it talks about those, you're gonna have some generic stuff you give them, and once in a while, they're gonna ask you for a different report, depending on what we've got going on in the year. And that's perfect, that's what I'm talking about. We start defining you just define the process, we incorporate that into the overall
Right.
management.
And they review any grants that we got, trying to think, I think I'm forgetting some stuff, but they go through
Okay.
just about everything that we have.
Yeah.
Everything.
And again, we're not gonna, this is to get it started,
Just to get it started.
so.
So they've started this audit, because I've sent them some
For
information already.
2023.
The
The one you
2023.
were referring to was 2022.
That's right.
Yeah, the closed one is just closed up.
Should we ask Kathy, or maybe the board, we could do this over the internet, for us just to have a preliminary meeting with them before they begin? You say they've already begun the audit.
They've already begun the audit,
But
yes.
would it hurt if we were to talk to them before they get too much further along, just to see if we have any questions about the process?
They usually will talk to somebody. I know that in the past, they've talked to, they come in here and they randomly talk to different people. I don't know if they talk to.
I suggest
But I do
to
have a
give people a
contact.
chance to think about it, and next meeting, we specifically decide whether we have enough questions to bring them in and talk to us. We could do it, but a lot of them are local, right? They're not too far away.
In St. Albans.
Yeah, they're in St. Albans, so no reason they couldn't come sit down and
Yep.
put them out. Anyway, that's what I suggested.
Okay, I'm gonna send out my thoughts, and I'll send it to Brian and Joel, but then it becomes, which I don't mind, public information. That's the way this works.
Any email you send out is public information.
Okay, that's, even if it's from my own email.
Well, from your personal email, if it's conducting town business, yes.
Well, no, if it's sent, once we receive it, it's it's
Yeah, which I
technically
don't mind
public.
anywhere, I think the
Right.
more that we put out there, the better.
Yeah,
All right, thank you.
thank you. Community and economic development.
Not much to report there, other than a lot of zoning activity. But, there's been, the flower shop is gonna be opening soon, and John Brett has his building rented, but, and then,
Building rented, but we got a minor issue that needs to
minor
be taken
issue
care
has
of,
to be
right?
taken care of. I
Right.
talked with John, but I'll be going in to get my snow tires put on, and I'll say, hey, let's give them a call right now and get the
Paperwork.
tenant in going here. So yeah, that's what's been happening there. So
Okay, any other necessary business? I want to, we approved $1,000 earlier in the night, and half of the cost is $1,050, so I don't know, I'd entertain a motion to approve $1,050 for those banners versus $1,000.
What if we went 1,200, 1,400 in case there's some additional expenses, so we don't have to come back? Would you agree to go to 1,200 rather than 1,050?
I don't have up to
Yeah,
1,200.
Yeah, just so we,
I'm good with that.
just so we can expedite things.
So can I amend my original motion?
Well, I think,
Oh, you can, sure.
yeah, okay.
So I can amend my original motion to make it up to $1,200.
Actually, I think we already done the motion, so I think this is just a new one that we increase that figure, make a motion to increase that figure to 1,200, up to 1,200.
So I'll make a new motion to increase that figure up to $1,200 for expenses for hometown hero banners.
There a second?
Okay.
You wanted in the motion where it's coming from?
From our special funds account.
Motion's been made and seconded to increase to up to 1,200 for the hometown hero banners. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor state aye.
Aye.
Opposed, so moved. Correspondence,
none.
public comment, upcoming events.
Upcoming events, Monday, November 25th, 2024, at 5 PM will be a planning commission meeting here in the town office and on Zoom. Thursday, November 28th, 2024, and Friday, November 29th, 2024, Thanksgiving holiday, town offices and operations will be closed. Tuesday, December 3rd, 2024, at 6 PM will be a regular select board meeting here at the town offices and by Zoom.
Thank you. Executive session for personnel. Do I hear a motion?
I move that we find that we enter executive session for the select board to receive confidential personnel information for which the premature disclosure of it to the general public would clearly place the select board and others at a substantial disadvantage.
Roll call. Steve,
Yes.
Brendan,
Yes.
Earl,
Yeah.
Nicole,
Yes.
Joel, yes.
I move that based on our just made findings, the premature disclosure would place the select board and others at a substantial disadvantage. We now enter executive session.
Steve,
Recording stopped.
Yes.
Brendan,
Yes.
Earl, Nicole,
Yes.
Joel, yes. All right, we're in executive session. Are we ready to go? Yep.
Recording in progress.
All right, it's 7:59, I'll entertain a motion to come out of executive session.
I'll move that we exit executive session at 7:59 PM.
Here a second.
I'll second.
Motion made and seconded. All those in favor, state aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So moved. Entertain a motion on what we discussed in executive session.
I'd like to make a motion that we authorize the additional employee as an administrative assistant to Brian for up to 20 hours per week at $24 an hour.
I'll second.
Motion been made and second. Any further discussion?
Just to note on interim basis, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah. All those in favor, state aye.
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 Aye. Opposed? So moved. Entertain a motion to adjourn.
So move.
Second.
Motion made, second adjourn at 8 o'clock. All those in favor, state aye. Aye. Opposed? So moved.